How are you guys
Good.
doing?
How are you guys?
Good, good.
Are you guys Jehovah's Witness? Jehovah's Witnesses? Okay. And so why are you guys Jehovah's Witnesses? Yeah.
Can you expound? What do you mean specifically?
Like, so why do you believe this is the correct way to know God?
Are you a Bible reader?
What's that?
Are you a Bible reader?
Yes. Are we talking about, like, what do you mean by Bible reading? Because I know Jehovah's Witnesses and we would have probably different versions of the Bible. Right? Well, right, because you guys read the New World Translation, correct? We do not read the New World Translation, so our Bibles will have slight differences in there on certain things. So that's why I was just wondering, like, would you consider that me a Bible reading person then?
Different translations.
Okay. Sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you. You mind if I come over here? I'm not trying to be like, like come over into your face or whatever. I'm just trying to hear you.
Any Bible you use, looked as a whole, you can get God's message for humankind.
Okay.
Any Bible.
So not just, so any version of the Bible, anything of that.
Any
Okay.
translation. Because version it implies that there's, they're saying different things and they aren't. It's,
Right.
How it's translated, right?
Right.
So what's the translation that you prefer?
So we use ESV,
ESV.
English.
English Standard Version.
Yeah.
Is that what's
Yeah.
Okay.
So does that make sense for?
Yeah, no, we
Yeah.
can. I'm just saying if we have a translation available.
Which one do you guys have? Because we can use other ones too. So.
Yeah. Well, let's see which ones we have available on the app.
English wasn't my first language, so if you try to use the King James, then that's going to be even harder for me.
Really? What's your original?
Hawaiian. So yeah, I grew up in Hawaii. Yeah.
Okay.
Did you guys grow up into Jehovah's Witness or?
Did we grow? Did I grow up?
You did?
Yeah.
I did not.
Okay.
Yeah. So Hawaiian. I'm sorry. Keep getting over this. Hawaiian, really?
Yeah.
What's the actual language in Hawaiian?
So like, so Hawaiian, so that's like aloha kaiaka kehu hu yasupu, so good morning, God be with you, Jesus be with you. And then you have the other language, which is just broken English. So there's technically two languages for Hawaii. Yeah.
I see.
So that was technically first language, and then English was pretty much a second language.
Yeah.
So ESV is easier for me to go with that. Old English, I had to learn English the first time. I can't learn an older version of it.
That might be a little.
So,
tricky.
but I can do my best with reading King James. But yeah. So mainly we use ESV. And so we believe that Jesus is the God. I know Jehovah's Witnesses probably wouldn't agree with that. Do you guys believe Jesus is the God?
No.
No. All right. So like that's one of the differences that we would have on there. What you see in some other versions, when it talks about Jesus healing people and then those people are going and worshiping him, your translation would say they paid homage to him. Our ESV would say they worshiped him. So that's what I mean by there's some differences that cause foundational issues on there. But also some things that haven't changed for New World Translation is in Revelations you have Jesus referred to as the Alpha and the Omega, but yet you have God the Father referred to as the Alpha and the Omega. So how do you reconcile if Jesus is not the God, then you have two Alpha and Omegas, correct?
You have a lot of good questions.
Right. So that's why we were just wanting to ask.
That's fair. That's fair.
We handed out all our literature that we were doing for abolishing abortion stuff. So we were like, hey, we might as well have good conversations and reason with you guys. Because one thing I do love and respect about you guys is, unlike atheists, when I reason with them, I have to worry about, they might lash out and beat me up. The nice thing about Jehovah's Witnesses, I know you guys aren't going to beat me up for disagreeing, you know what I mean? And that's what I was like, we can at least have the sense to dialogue with each other and not, lash out and get angry. So I do respect that with you guys and love that. Sorry, did you?
You were going to say something?
Yeah, when we look in Revelation, it's actually the first chapter, the first verse. It says a revelation by Jesus Christ, which God gave him, which he gave to his slave. And you see there, Jesus just didn't give it to himself. So he had to give it from somebody else, which will be who?
I'm assuming you're saying God the Father, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you're saying that he's not necessarily saying that he is the Alpha and the Omega.
Exactly.
He is saying that the Father is. Even though he says, I am, and not the Father is. Right?
You want to
No.
know?
I didn't want to interrupt you.
Oh, I was looking for something else. My mind was going blank real quick. It's been a while since somebody asked me a question.
Yeah.
A little bit. You know, it's the verse you're talking about where it says the Alpha and the Jesus referred to himself as the Alpha and Omega. Do you remember what that verse is?
Yeah, I'm pulling that up.
You're pulling it up? Okay. I know, it's so much hard when you got your hands full.
I know. And especially with the wind doesn't help on there.
Well, I find that Alpha and Omega in Revelation chapter 1, verse 8.
So it's Revelation 22,
Right.
verse 13.
Revelation 22, verse.
So in the first part, he is referring to. That's why I said there's the two places where he's referred to as the. There you see God is referred to as the Alpha and Omega, and then later on, you also see Jesus being referred to as the Alpha and the Omega. So in 22:12-13, Jesus calls himself the Alpha and the Omega, first and the last. And again, you see that Jesus referred to again, and then he also says, we would say you never see him to tell anybody to stop paying homage to him, and yet we see multiple times, even for your guys' translation language, it says no. That same Greek word that's used on there is only supposed to be to God. So how would you differentiate between when it's talking about paying homage or worshiping when they use that same word? So for us, I would lump them both together and just to be consistent and say no. Any paying homage and paying and do that is talking about that only belongs to God alone. So that's just sorry, were you talking on there? But
So Revelation 22.
yeah, so Revelation 22:12-13.
Revelation, if you look at the whole context of the Revelation, the book of Revelation, in chapter 21, you notice that the speaking there is, if you go back up, because a lot of times things have to do with the context.
Yes, absolutely.
So you go back, it talks about a new heavens and a new earth. And former heavens and the former earth.
Jehovah?
And he says, and I saw a holy city. He goes on in verse 3. Yes, with Jehovah's Witnesses.
This also Jehovah?
Yeah, all of that.
Yes,
All just in different languages?
Yes, that's what it is.
What language is this?
Let me peek over and see. Yep, that's what I think it is.
It's what? Hindi. What about that one, I think?
Should be Spanish.
Oh, okay.
Yes. You're more than welcome to take something from the cart if you like.
I got one last time.
Okay.
Sorry.
So he goes on, and in verse 3 and 4, he says, and I heard with a loud voice from the throne say, look, the tent of God is with mankind, and he will reside with them. So he talks about what that tent residing with God's people will do as far as wiping everything away.
Right.
Then it goes on to verse 5, and it says, and the one seated on the throne said, look, I'm making all things new. And he says, right, for these words are faithful and true. And he said to me, who said to me?
Mm-hmm.
God is speaking to Jesus. And he said to me, in verse 6, they have come to pass. I am
Well,
the Alpha
John was
and
the one writing it, so it's not saying that Jesus is speaking to Jesus right now. He's speaking to John.
Well, he's speaking about this tent of God that he promises to be with.
But when it says
mankind.
that he spoke to me, that's John talking, because that's why it says in the beginning a revelation from John, and he's writing the words of what Jesus Christ is saying to him. And so John was saying, and he said to me.
And
So
who
that
is
would
the
be referring to Jesus saying to him.
Okay.
That
and
he is the
in
Alpha.
that case, that's correct. But have we not repeated what someone has said to us in that first person as if it was us?
Once
So
we already established that we are talking about that person. But if I were to come up to you and say, I am God, the Almighty, maker of heaven and earth, would you just assume that I'm talking about somebody else? Or
you
talking
would
about
need
me?
to give me some context.
Exactly.
Yes.
So again, John never gives the context that, okay, now Jesus is quoting the Father. He just says, and Jesus said to me. So there's no context for us to believe that. That's what I was trying to say. Does that make sense? But so I'm with you on the context, and that's what I was saying. He doesn't really give the context that Jesus is now talking, saying to John what the Father says. He just goes on, and John, as he's writing, says, and he said to me, referring to Jesus as he has been through it. So that's why I'm challenging a little bit on you guys on that.
I get what you're saying, and I
Right.
know there's more
But
research.
when you look at the very first verse of chapter 1 again,
Yeah.
Jesus got that revelation from God, which he gave to John, which he was telling him right because his words are faithful and true.
And so I'm giving them to you. So when you go and you quote, this is what I need you to say. This is what I need you to relay. This is how it should be delivered.
So just like a secretary will write these words down from her superior, write them down word for word, and then give them to someone to read. Or those instructions are what he
Right.
wants to do.
So you're saying that the whole thing that Jesus is saying, then he's never referring to himself, then?
Correct.
So he doesn't refer to himself at all. So when it talks about in chapter,
Not at all.
okay, but then how would you know? Because they never changed the writing. That's what I'm kind of getting at. Is they never changed the writing and going, okay, now I'm talking about just myself. Now I'm talking from the Father. If we're going off of
that's why you just can't take one verse.
right, but that's what I'm saying. But isn't that what you're kind of suggesting? Because you said, well, right here in this one verse in the beginning of Revelation, it says that it's straight from God. So then that would mean if we're only taking that one verse for how we're to translate the whole thing.
Revelation 22, if you start from the beginning, it'll tell you God said these things.
Right, but then
And then Jesus will go around and quote it.
yeah.
This subject is very important to you, isn't it?
Well, absolutely, yeah. I mean, because it defines on who God is. So if we have the correct God, then we're worshiping a false God, right?
So, in this, the question of who God is important to anyone who wants to question.
Yes, absolutely.
However, there's no need to debate it. So, if this is something you sincerely want to know,
Yeah.
this is what we're going to do. You see this
Yeah.
QR code?
Well, and I have all that
You
stuff.
have that, okay.
But this is what we kind of do is we engage you guys is because we care about you guys because we believe you guys are worshiping a false God.
I understand.
And so how would we tell you that you're worshiping a false God without having conversations with you guys, right?
I appreciate
So that's why we want to have conversations with you guys. We have all your literature and stuff. That's why I knew what you guys were going. I quoted your guys' stuff and I read the New World Translation. It's because I care about you guys. And so that's why it's not just it's a question for all of us that as people that we're saying, hey, how do you guys define that? How do you guys work that out? And just like, I don't want to get my information from just, some resources and stuff. We want to get it from Scripture. And so that's why I'm challenging you guys with and saying, hey, how are we reading Scripture on there? Because when you have Thomas sitting there and John and Jesus appears to him and he says, my Lord, my God. And he doesn't break away. There's no reason for us to see that he's breaking away and saying, my Lord, my God, in that. So he keeps referring to Jesus as God. You see Jesus constantly being worshipped. You see Jesus accepting it. And so that's what I'm saying is what you guys are doing out here is you guys are essentially teaching a false God. And so, and that's what's...
We appreciate you stating your beliefs.
Yeah.
And then,
Right.
we appreciate you respecting
Yeah.
that what our beliefs are.
Yeah, thank you. And so but that's why there is the challenge and the concern for you guys is we're saying, hey, that we should have these conversations because only one of us can be right? We're not universalists and say everybody serves the same God, right?
That's true.
Right. So there is a concern and there is an urgency because for us, we would say that by you guys worshiping a false God, you guys are under the wrath of God and doomed for hell, and we don't want that. You guys looking for us, right? You would also say that we are outside, right? Now, for you guys, I understand that it's not necessarily straight to hell for your guys' belief because you guys don't believe. Do you guys believe there is hell?
As in the grave.
Right. But there's not an eternal punishment, right? No, right. So, right. Like I said, I read your guys' stuff. But that is the concern for you guys. Just like you said, if we don't believe, then we go into the grave and that's it for us. No eternal punishment. What we're saying in our belief is there is an eternal punishment that we see in Revelations where he says, and the beast and the prophets were thrown in and the fire goes up forever and ever for all eternity. And so that is a reality. That we're concerned for you guys, and that we're saying, hey, this is why we're challenging you. It's not just because we love to come out and debate and stuff like that. It's because we, if we want to do that, we could just stay at home and debate each other, because nobody's going to perfectly agree on every single topic. But there is core values that we do have to agree on, and that matter in life. And so that's why, you know, we're just coming over here because we just saw you guys over here. Anytime I see the Jehovah's Witnesses out at the St. Louis Zoo and I'm over there talking to them, it's because I care about you guys. Just like I care about all the people here in that pro-life movement that we were handing out the literature for. So that's all that's going on.
And I sincerely appreciate that concern. And I, like she said, I appreciate you expressing your beliefs and respecting ours. And you've given me something to research because I want to be able to research that and understand that you brought up something that I hadn't thought of. But just that respect means is now we've expressed ourselves.
All right, so you're not wanting to continue the conversation? Okay.
Debate can end, yes.
Okay.
This can go.
And I appreciate you guys. Like I said, one thing I enjoy having conversations with you guys over atheists, because we go out and we preach out at the clinics over there. We go and we do street evangelism stuff. Is they get violent. I never am ever concerned about you guys getting violent, and that's the one thing that like I said, that I respect and like about you guys. This is our cards. Are you guys?
Is it your personal card?
Yeah. So this is our information on how we contact and what we have on there. Just like you guys hand out your guys' stuff. Would you like one, sir?
And what was your name?
Kanoa. So I know, weird Hawaiian name.
You're not weird.
So Kanoa on the.
And what does it mean?
So the free one.
The free one.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that your parents gave you that, or is that one you chose for yourself?
Nope. That's strictly parent stuff on there.
Okay. All right.
My sister got the harder name. Her first name is Kealohilani, but means brightness of heaven. So yeah, she got the long hard name on there, but that's Hawaiian language for you. They're like, how many words can we fit in one thing on there? So yeah, but I appreciate you talking and for you explaining that stuff, because you grew up, right? You were raised.